Hey everybody, it's Grandmaster Ben Finegold here with the game of the day, the last game of the day from the candidates. It looks like the players who were in the front runners, since the event was already decided regarding who plays Magnus, those guys didn't play as well as they did previously. I was expecting some quick draws, which would be disappointing. And I was pleasantly surprised. There were no quick draws. The games were decisive or still going. Unbelievable. So the players really fought this round. Game of the day is clearly Ding versus Jan. And Ding won his last two rounds. So if he could win, it would be 3 in a row. And Jan already won the tournament. So it's not clear how well he can play today, but we'll find out. And Jan wants to complete a sweep of the Chinese players. Before this game, Jan was 3-0 against Wang Hao and Ding Liren. So if he can win, he'll be 4-0, which is shocking. So, all right, let's have a look. Ding is white. And they played an opening that they have both played against each other, in fact, and against other people. So Jan always plays the Grunfeld. And Ding usually plays F3, never play F3. And the reason is if you play the Grunfeld, which you still can, there's no knight on C3, so you can't take and play knight takes C3. So for example, in this variation, white gets what he wants. This is still okay for black. A lot of grandmasters do play that for black. And then if white gets to play E4, he has a good same-ish King's Indian because he can play different move orders than just playing here. Now, in this position, Jan has played D6, E6, and maybe some other moves. And he played E6 this game, E4, and C5. You can also play D5. And this is looking like a Benoni, except usually in the modern Benoni, this knight's already here. It's advantageous not to have the knight there. And I try not to when I have white in a Benoni, because you would prefer that the knight go to C4 once the C4 square is cleared, which you'll see soon, either knight A3 to C4 or knight here to C4. And also, when you play F3, which I don't do in the Benoni, you can't play knight F3. So if you play knight E2, which is common, sometimes you want to play knight C3 to get this bishop out of here, which you can't do if you play knight C3. So this is a better version of the Benoni for white. And I have this same kind of idea when I play F3 against the Benko gambit, that in some variations I do that so my knight has other squares to go to. Usually A3 to protect my B5 pawn. Okay, so Bishop D3 has never been played at the top level before. Bishop G5 was played once, knight C3 is usually played. Both players have had this position, and Ding must have thought this was a better move than what was previously played in Grandmaster play, so he could get his other knight to C3. Okay, so a new idea. Now, in the press conference, Jan said, I thought this was a reasonable way to play the opening, but it turns out it wasn't. The engine said he was fine until he made a very bad move later, and it's hard for me to believe the position later was in his prep because they've been out of theory for like 9 moves. So I don't know. Maybe that's what he meant, that in this one position, he played a move, and I'll show you that wasn't good. But maybe he just means this whole line. But this is okay for black. Okay. And he played knight E2, C3. This knight wants to go to C4. And the knight on E2, that doesn't really have a great place to go. But C3 is good. Okay, A6, A4. If you play the Benoni with either side, it looks like a standard Benoni, except the knights are like this instead of like white having a knight here and here because he played F3 so early. Okay, now Jan plays like Jan because he's Jan. What do you want him to do? And he figures, okay, white's made a lot of pawn moves and he's moved this knight twice. So I'm going to attack. I have 3 pieces out to 2 and it's my move. I'm not going to let white complete development and then have this monster center. So, and I agree, knight H5. He wants to get the bishop out somewhere, wants to get his queen out. He wants knight to e5. So it makes sense. And the game made perfect sense. Check, knight e5. Knight e2 is okay, bishop c2 is okay. Knight e2 is a defensive move. Attacks the bishop, defends the g3 square in case this happens. So knight e2 makes sense. And in this position, Ding played knight takes d4, and this was the critical position of the game because black has 3 moves that look reasonable. Take the knight, take the bishop, or play knight g3 check. And unfortunately, Jan did not play the best move. And the most interesting move is knight g3, which also isn't good. King g1, knight takes f1, always play bishop f1. C takes d4, queen takes d4. And white has sacrificed the exchange. And as compensation, white has a pawn, white has a big center, and white has the 2 bishops. And it's impossible for black to prevent f4. So, got to be careful here. I would think, without using engines, this is just unclear. Like, white has great compensation for a pawn, for exchange, and I would probably take white. But the engine really likes white. It doesn't like black's position at all. It sees the potential white has for advancing in the center, dominating on the dark squares with his dark squared bishop, and it doesn't see what black can do. Black's attack is over, and now he has to defend. So both players decided that was good for white, And the other move, which is the best move, is to just take on d4, and the engine thinks this is okay for black, and that white's best move by far is king g1, avoiding, this knight g3 check. And this is about equal. Black can keep attacking with g5 or f5. And again, white hasn't moved his pieces yet. Okay, and here Jan made a very bad move. Knight takes d3. Very tempting, by the way. Queen takes d3, and then he won the exchange. And the problem with this is white has a spectacular move that even some of the engines have trouble with. And Ding was in fantastic form. He won his previous 2 games. He's trying to make it 3 in a row. And he played a move a lot of people wouldn't consider. He just played knight c2, saving his knight, and this knight's trapped. Okay, I'm sure both of the players saw that, and I guess Jan just misevaluated it. So he has to play knight h2 to try to save his knight and get as many pawns as he can. And then the excellent move, queen e3. Fantastic. He wants to move his queen and trade queens, and this knight's a goner. It's defending all the dark squares. And one of the engines I looked at this with found a move I would never, ever consider. And it was really funny. In fact, it said it was the best move, but I think it'll change its mind. G5. The idea of G5, obviously it stops queen f4, is if you take, I have knight f3 check winning, and then I pin your bishop. That's crazy. That's the point of G5. That's a computer line. Okay, and so after G5, you don't take on G5, you just play something else. A lot of moves are good for white. E5, knight D2, and white's better. Okay, so Jan castled, queen G5. He wants to get a pawn for his knight instead of nothing, so he won a pawn. And he doesn't want to trade queens because the endgame is terrible. He wants to keep attacking this king. And unfortunately, he couldn't succeed. He tried not to trade queens, but as I like to say, trying is the first step to failure. Bishop f4, attacking this, developing a piece. Knight d2 is coming, took another pawn. And now if black doesn't trade queens, he'll probably get mated. Queen here, bishop here, and that's why he played knight d2. If he plays queen here right away, we can start checking. Okay, so that's not good right away. But after knight d2, we control the back rank, and it's too dangerous to move the queen. I can take this attacking the rook, and probably I'm going to attack your king with this dark squared bishop, and the queen on the dark squares. There's no defense. So Jan played the best move here, even though you should never play it. F6, recommended by the engine. And he got a pawn, desperado. Why doesn't he come to his senses? All right, takes. And I woke up at this point from, sleeping last night because the game started very early for me. And I was like, I like white, but I don't know, maybe black's okay. And the engine said no, black resigns. So the problem with black's position, once you lose this pawn, it's over. You can't lose that pawn. You're going to lose that pawn because this knight or this knight can go to c4. So knight a3 to c4, knight e3 to c4, knight d2 to c4. It's hard to defend that pawn, and it's already attacked. So this is just losing. Positions, he has no hope. And I think when Jan decided to win the exchange and get his knight trapped, he misevaluated these kinds of positions. He thought maybe it was okay. It's not okay. Okay, so he played bishop g4. The knight went back to d2 because he wants to go to c4. Played bishop here. He said, no, you can't play knight c4. I'm not going to allow it. And then king f2, moving the king up in the ending, gaining a tempo. Knight e1, gaining a tempo, attacking the bishop. The bishop's trapped, so he has to play c4. And yeah, this is completely lost. d6 is coming. King e3. He can go here. Black has nothing. It's two pieces for a rook, and black doesn't really have any pawns. He can't play f5 because of e5. This pawn's finished. d6 protects the bishop. This is already resignable. But Jan did a good job to make sure that lower-rated players understand the resignation. Here they might be like, why did he resign? But when he did resign, you'll be like, yeah, all right. So rook a3, d6, rook takes. Yeah, that's annoying. King here, knight c4. This is very annoying. Knight check, king here, d7, or knight takes rook in d7. So he has to sacrifice the exchange. And taking wins easily, but actually Ding's move is better, knight b6 check. And the reason is when you move your king to defend the rook, let's say here, you can't take the knight because of rook d8. And then that's it, you resign. And if you play king takes pawn, which you could also play if you play king d8, now Ding has knight check, and knight takes pawn defends his e-pawn, for example. And the pin doesn't work because I defend it. I'm a piece up for nothing. So that was a nice finish at the end. Knight here check. You take this, you check, you take, and defend your pawn. Then white's up a knight for nothing. And I tried to look with an engine on my other computer, but it blew my computer up. The number was so high, my computer couldn't understand it. So a really nice game from Ding. Bad judgment from Jan. It's really hard to play the last round when you've already accomplished your goal. I know, I have some bad stories. So, personal. So Jan already won the tournament. He's already playing Magnus. So it's hard to get motivated for this game. And Ding Liren wins his last 3 rounds and regains the number 3 position in the world that he lost during the tournament because he started so badly. So excellent game from Ding, excellent tournament from Jan. And I hope you enjoyed our coverage. We had lots of grandmasters on Twitch and YouTube for Chess.com analyzing the games live every day, lots of camera angles. We'll bring you great coverage in the future. Remember to like and subscribe and watch more videos of my game of the day. I'll see you guys later at Title Tuesday. Bye.